All right, very good. Well, we are pleased with the turnout, given that we only started to spread the word about this webinar or meeting or discussion a few days ago. So thank you all for being here. We hope that everybody is doing well in what is obviously a difficult time, an unprecedented time, all of the superlatives. We are using Zoom for this meeting, as you know, because you made it here. So that's a good first step. Zoom is an excellent collaboration tool, especially in a one-to-many type situation as we are in here today. It is your choice. We've enabled video for this call. If you would like to turn on your video, you may. That is your choice. We are recording, just a heads up on that. In terms of audio, please stay muted unless you have a question. However, if you do have a question and would like to chime in, please feel free to do that. Unmute yourself, ask your question, and then when we've finished, please mute yourself again so that everybody else on the call isn't picking up all of the background noise from your location. We got somebody else jumping in here. Let me get them in. A little bit about the slide deck. We do have a deck of 13 slides. Thank you to my Chief Technology Officer, Jake Bush, who is on the call, for getting this put together quickly. The PowerPoint presentation is not meant to dictate everything we talk about here today. It's just, but it will hopefully help us to not forget certain points we wanted to make and perhaps spur some discussion. But we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please do chime in with your questions. Again, you can either unmute and ask them out loud to the group, or if you prefer, you can use the chat functionality in Zoom and send a message either directly to me or to the whole group. You know, it's the old, there is no dumb question. And if you're thinking about it, probably somebody else is too. And so it's worth us going over it. The slide deck is weighted heavily towards the business side of the equation, meaning helping organizations figure out how to be thinking about remote access and remote workers. What's become obvious to me in the last couple of days with people reaching out directly is people have just as many questions about their own home setup and some challenges they may be having on their home network or their workstation or what have you. We don't cover a lot of that in the slide deck, but those questions are fair game. And one of the things we'll highlight at the end is that if you need more help than we're able to provide in this group setting, anybody who's on this call is encouraged to sign up for a one-on-one or maybe a one-on-two. We'll see how we do it, but a half-hour session that is just addressing your questions and your issues. So that is available to anybody who is on this call. Since I can only hear myself and nobody else.
Signing up for those sessions can be done by emailing webinars@jpmerc.com.
Yes, thank you, Jake. And how is my audio? Is everybody hearing me okay? All right, I'll take Andy's thumb up as an affirmative, and we'll go from there. So I'll start running through our presentation here, but naturally, Jake, chime in at any point. Again, questions either through chat or unmuting. And another confirmation that you can hear me, so excellent. So our agenda for this morning, first of all, we'll do a quick overview meet the team and discuss some current challenges that we know exist and that we're hearing from our clients. We'll talk about some solutions that we've implemented for our current clients, and the pros and cons of various solutions. And then we will do a Q&A and wrap up with other ways that we might be able to help you address your challenges and issues. So I am the founder of JPMerc and Company. JPMerc is a managed IT services provider. Founded the company in 2004. We offer complete IT department services to organizations that don't have internal IT. We also offer complementary IT solutions for existing IT departments that need some additional assistance, whether it be subject matter expertise or just need a buffer to kind of catch up on their projects and keep things running smoothly. We cater to small and mid-sized businesses. And between Jake and myself, we have more than 50 years of combined experience running and supporting IT for business. Jake, our Chief Technology Officer, is on the phone. I'll hand it over to him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everyone, for joining this morning. We're really happy with the turnout. I've been in IT about 25 years now. The first 15 or 18 years, I was a subject matter expert running email systems for big companies around Boston and around Massachusetts. And the last 10 years or so, I've been IT director and above, and am now the Chief Technology Officer here at JPMerc.
Great, thank you, Jake. And we have a special guest speaker, subject matter expert here with us today. At JPMerc, we have a number of valued partners. We spend a lot of our time looking at companies and technology and selecting what we would consider best of breed partners and best of breed solutions. One of those partners that we have meticulously chosen is a company called Duo. And with us this morning is Christo Herzog. Christo, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure, definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Joe. Jake, appreciate it. Happy to be a valued partner of yours as well. So I am Christo Herzog from Duo Security. I am a partner manager, more or less just a resource for JPMerc in order to get you guys the information that you need in order to set you up with our MFA dual factor authentication solution. So happy to be a part of the conversation and can't wait to hop in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christo. Appreciate you being here this morning. All right, so let's dive into the challenges that we're seeing, and you may have seen it in our invitation to this webinar, but we've spent the last basically 3 weeks helping our existing client base adjust and adapt to the new reality of more or less everybody having to work remotely, everybody having to work from home, can't even really go to the cafes anymore. So this is a work from home, 100% work from home paradigm that we find ourselves in. And so why is that a challenge? Well, most companies already had some remote capabilities, right? The story is not all bad. We've moved a lot of applications have moved to the cloud over the last 10 years or so. Fully cloud-based applications work just as well from home, assuming your home network is in good shape, work just as well from home as they do from the office. But we still have challenges because not everything has become cloud-based. And we have capacity issues because for the most part, companies built their remote access technology for people who needed to do a little bit of work in the evening to catch up on a deadline, or over the weekend, or maybe to cover a snow day or that kind of thing. Most of these systems were not built with the idea that everybody would be doing all of their work from home. And so we've had to scramble and beef up capacity and add technology and capabilities in places where they didn't previously exist. And most companies, at least most of the companies that we work with, still have what we would call legacy on-premise file servers and application servers. That's the old, you log into your system and you have a drive letter dedicated to files that are shared in the company. Those are not necessarily easily accessible when you are not on premise, and people need a way to get to that stuff. And there are still line of business applications that our clients run that are not fully cloud enabled, and they need to be able to get access to those applications and to those databases and so on and so forth. And that creates a challenge. So getting to certain types of data is a big challenge for a lot of companies at this time. Collaboration is another major issue. A lot of the remote access technology historically has been geared towards the first piece that I talked about, getting access to data. Not necessarily working with other people beyond just the ability to share files and that sort of thing. And so being able to collaborate with your colleagues, with your teams, that has become difficult with all of us working from home. Security is another big one. Anytime in IT that we increase convenience or accessibility, we also create the possibility for security concerns. In other words, if we have an on-premise file server, for example, and previously that was only available to people who are inside our office building, and now we make that data available to anybody essentially anywhere in the world, that creates an opportunity for security problems. And so as we create more access, we have to do it in a way that addresses those security concerns. Jake, anything you want to add to the challenges, or Christo? We will go deeper into some of this stuff for sure.
No, I think that's a pretty good. It's a pretty good overview. We've got. I did want to say that these are the three items that we're focusing on today. These are sort of the very first things that businesses are running into: how we access data, how we're working together, and how that's changing. And the security is also a thing that a lot of companies don't pay a ton of attention to, but we want everyone to be aware that these new circumstances are they're opening up kind of new gaps in security, as Joe had said, working from home. We put it on there that it is very, very cheap and very easy to steal passwords, but it can be very, very expensive for your company. And we have so many things to worry about and think about right now. The last thing you want to deal with is a breach or something else to throw your business into a bit of an uproar. So we're encouraging everyone here, and certainly our clients, to be focused on security as well.
Agreed. Very good. All right. So now we'll get into some specific paradigms, some specific technologies that can help us to solve some of the challenges that we enumerated on the last slide. Rather than me do all the talking, Jake, why don't we volley back and forth a little bit? Do you want to talk a little bit about remote desktop server?
Sure. So we look at this really for companies that do have on-premise infrastructure. We have some clients that really don't anymore. But for companies that have that traditional legacy file server or have applications that run on servers within their environment, remote desktop server is the way that you get there. It provides you with a virtual desktop within your environment, gives you a secure connection to your data and applications, as we have here on the screen. You're not running those things on your home computer, so we're not as concerned about, do you have antivirus on your home computer or anything like that. And we did put in here that these can be built remotely for companies that did not have this level of preparation or remote access. We know that there were companies that were completely against any remote access before all this happened, and it really wasn't a choice anymore. Often remote desktop servers can be built remotely, either using existing hardware, as it says here under on-premise, or they can be built in the cloud. They can be built very quickly in the cloud, and they're also extremely scalable. One of the great things about building those environments in the cloud is, as you need the resources, you can build them. If you needed a remote desktop server now, for example, and you're going to need it for however long this thing lasts, a month or 2 months, hopefully, and then you're not going to need it anymore, you can spin it up, serve up your clients, get them in there, and then shut it back down again. You're only billed for the service you use. You're not committing to, a year or many years as buying hardware. You own that now. But running on premise, if you have the infrastructure to support it, it does operate close to your systems, to your on-premise line of business applications, and close to your files, so it can be faster in that way. So a couple different pros for really your two different options for accessing files and systems remotely.
So a use case for this would be something like, think of an application that's not fully cloud-based. So for example, while some accounting applications have cloud versions, many are still sort of traditional applications that are installed on premise. And so anybody working from home would need to be able to get to those applications. What you basically do with a remote desktop server is you open up a session, and you're running, the application itself is running in the data center. Again, as Jake said, that data center could be a server room at a business, or it could be a virtual data center. But in any case, the application runs there, not on your local machine. One of the benefits of that, and Jake may have already mentioned this, is he did highlight the fact that in IT, we have major concerns about the overall security of people's home PCs. So, of course, in some cases, you're taking a company-provided laptop home with you that is presumably managed and should be relatively secure. But in other cases, folks are taking whatever PC or Mac they had at home and now are working from that system. And that system has not necessarily been managed to the same level as a corporate system, and may, unbeknownst to the owner of that system, already have some sort of malware. If we start running corporate applications on a system that is infected, now we have exposed our entire organization to that same infection. It's sort of similar to the real world that we're living in right now, but in a cyber sort of way. We have to create distancing between infected home systems and our corporate systems, and one way to create that cyber distancing is to run the applications on a remote desktop server instead of running the applications on a potentially vulnerable home PC. So another way to accomplish access to data that is far away is a virtual private network. What a virtual private network does is it uses the internet to create a path from your home office, wherever you happen to be, but for now we're talking about home offices. It creates a secure path between your home office and wherever that data lives. Again, that data might be in the server room at an office, or it might be in a private cloud somewhere, it really doesn't matter much. But what this does is it allows access to that data as though you were sitting where that data is. The difference between a virtual private network and a remote desktop server is in VPN, which is virtual private network for short. With a VPN, you are running the applications locally. Again, there are pros and cons to running applications locally. First of all, we don't want anybody doing this if we're not certain about the security of the PC that is initiating the VPN connection for the reasons I already talked about. If a local PC is infected with malware and then gets access to all of the company's data, that is a recipe for disaster. So we only want to even talk about VPNs with managed PCs that we have a high level of trust in. But if we meet those criteria, now we have direct access to the data. The applications can run locally. You're using the same system that you're always using, so you don't have a mismatch between look and feel and settings and comfort level. You're just running the same PC all the time. In a non-lockdown situation, you take it to the office, you work there. You take it home, you connect to the VPN, and you work from there. And obviously, in the lockdown situation, you're always on VPN, but the point remains that you have a comfort level with the PC that you have already kind of tweaked to get comfortable in where you and have it working the way you need it to. There can be performance issues. We always talk about. When we're talking about remote connections, we're always talking about bottlenecks and the weakest link. If, for example, you're on a home network and you are trying to access very large files that are on the other side, and you have a slow internet connection, you have sort of lackluster wireless, or the PC itself is not very fast, any bottleneck in there could create performance problems. So in addition to strongly recommending against using VPN with non-managed PCs, there can sometimes be performance issues. I'll pause in case anybody has any questions at this point.
I don't know if we covered it at the beginning, but if you open the I believe it's the participants list. Looking for the raise your hand. But if at any point you have questions while we're talking, feel free to at least, oh, they're there. In the participants list at the bottom, there's a raise hand button that will flag Joe. So we can make sure to go to you with any questions.
All right, if there are no questions at this time, we'll move on to collaboration. And so as we said at the top, many traditional remote access technologies focused primarily on getting to certain types of data from a remote location. And this idea of being able to collaborate with your teams is a much newer concept. There is some good news. Most of our clients, and I think a decent percentage of the business community in general, has moved their email over to Office 365. Many companies move their email to Office 365 and barely scratch the surface as it pertains to all of the functionality within Office 365, and that's something we've been working with our clients to rectify, identifying which of the dozens of applications in Office 365 would benefit their business, help them get them set up properly, provide training and support for those applications. One of the applications that exists in Office 365 is aptly named Teams. And Teams is a collaboration tool that companies can use to get a much more interactive approach to working together from disparate locations. It has some similar functionalities to Zoom, the platform that we're on right now, but it's much more geared towards internal teams, meaning you have the ability to share and collaborate on the work itself while layering in sort of the collaborative communication pieces like this. So, for example, my team, which Jake is a part of, we keep teams up all day long in chat, defaulting to a chat window. And so instead of emailing each other 200 times a day, our live conversations are in the chat window. And you can chat one-on-one, or you can chat to groups, within groups, and so forth. We schedule all of our meetings in Teams. And then when the meeting is happening, it looks and feels very much like this, meaning we are able to do video conversations, full video, full audio, sharing of screens, sharing of information. It has the ability for us to take meeting minutes in another Office 365 app called OneNote. We can share files that are related to particular teams, so you can have many teams. Teams is the name of the app, but obviously team generically, meaning a group of colleagues. You can have many different teams within your organization. You can sort of set that up however it makes sense for you. But then what that allows, it's sort of distribution, email distribution lists, but on steroids, with instead of all of these reply all emails, it's a much more focused way to collaborate around particular subjects and so forth. So we publish agendas for our meetings. We take meeting notes in OneNote for the meetings. We do those meetings collaboratively using video and audio. We record them when appropriate, and then any documents related to the collaboration of that particular team all get saved in a common area. So it's very robust. It's not a tremendously good tool for collaborating with people outside of the organization. That's where Zoom comes in, and other similar platforms like GoToMeeting. We happen to like Zoom, but there are alternatives to it. It is the most intuitive for non-technical people and when you are collaborating with people outside the organization. So that's why we're using Zoom on this call. But for our day-to-day internal operations and for many of our clients, Teams is the way that they handle that internal collaboration. Jake?
No, I think that's a pretty good, covering of those. I'm fielding some things, asking about, Slack and Ignite and things like that. Our clients don't use Slack right now. We know that some companies do. We're happy to dig into that with you if you'd like. Things like Ignite fall under file sync and share. We do plan to be doing more of these webinars, and file sharing is going to be one of the topics, just not on the slate for today.
Yeah, we should have probably had a file sync and share slide as a third opportunity to overcome the legacy file server conundrum. File sync and share, if you're not familiar with that term, you probably are familiar with the term Dropbox. Dropbox is a specific file sync and share technology, meaning the ability to save files to a location that then syncs to the cloud and to multiple devices. Most people have multiple devices these days. So you can use a file sync and share technology like Dropbox or like OneDrive or like Google Drive There are many of them. They all work fairly similarly. They do have some are stronger in some areas and weaker in others, and we could do a whole one of these just on file sync and share. But in general, we do have clients that are slowly moving to file sync and share. Many of us have been doing it on a personal level for years. It's a little bit more challenging to do on a larger scale, at an enterprise scale, which is why many clients still have these legacy, what we call legacy file servers. Although for one of our larger clients, we did use a technology called Ignite, which Jake referred to, that is the best of both worlds. That client still has legacy file servers, which they need because some of the legacy applications that's how they work. They need access to old school mapped drives. However, Ignite basically can take that file server information and sync it down to the PC level. And so you have that mapped drive on your PC, but unlike a direct connection to the file server, that is using the Ignite file sync and share technology, which means those people have a local copy and can get to that information locally. There are challenges there too. PCs, for example, don't usually have enough space to sync a whole file server down to them, so it's not foolproof. Everything has to be analyzed on a case-by-case basis, and then we figure out what works and what's going to work for a particular organization. Jake, I'll hand this to you to start the security discussion, and then let you hand it off to Christo.
Sure. So we are focusing on Duo today, not just because Christo agreed to join us, but we really believe that multi-factor authentication is the best way to protect your applications, remote desktop, some of the things we've talked about today, as well as a lot of other applications. We have heard about breaches that could have been prevented with multi-factor authentication. As we said earlier, passwords they can be easy to phish. There are many ways to harvest them. Multi-factor authentication, even if your password is compromised, this can help with that. There are certainly other security software out there. Is other security software out there. We use things like password management for our company and our clients. But this is we believe the quickest and fastest way to really get a next level of security within your company. I threw some facts in here that I found very surprising, and we thought some other people might as well. Over 80% of breaches occur using someone's stolen or weak password. So if your password is password, or if you get tricked into signing into a fake Office 365 account, and now the hacker has your password. Those things get sold on the dark web. We also have software that monitors the dark web while we're talking about that. I was very surprised to learn, according to LastPass, which is a password management software, that the average business user has 181 online passwords. I guess if I look in my vault, I'll probably see that many. And this one, that over 60% of people use the same or similar password everywhere, was crazy to me. I know I'm guilty of using the same password more than once, but I try to use my password manager to create secure passwords and store them. We wanted to just sort of use all of this to illustrate how important keeping an eye on security and making sure that you have initiatives in that area, how important all that is. And basically to tee up Christo Herzog, who is here from Duo.
Thank you so much, Jake. Really appreciate it. Excellent layup there. I am Christo, like I said earlier too, here with Duo. Would it be possible to get a presenter portion here? Oh, looks like I do have a share button. That could work. Let me go ahead and try to do that here. Oh, it looks like you may have to exit out of your slide in order for me to share my screen. That's all right.
I'll make you the host, Christo, and then you can roll with it.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Okay. Let me pull up my screen here real quick and then dive into the presentation. All right. So, as you all know from that excellent overview of how Duo is competing in the market, we are an MFA 2FA provider. We also dabble in what we like to call device hygiene, which is basically checking the health of those devices that are accessing applications. And also, we have the ability to tag or create certificates for corporate managed devices to access even more sensitive applications. So I'd like to start off just kind of having a why MFA now. I know now more than ever in this current climate, we're having the work from home lifestyle take a precedent. So it is very important to have all of those applications either protected by some sort of 2FA or MFA. From there, you can go ahead and protect all those primary credentials. So whatever those username and passwords are that you're using, whether your password being password or the username fluctuating as well, we just want to make sure that those are actually being backed up by a second factor, whether that be your phone, whether that be a tablet, whether it be a hardware token. Duo is able to integrate with those abilities and multi-factor abilities to actually access those applications. So I know we touched on this in the overview, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up again. Just some of the most common factors in a breach. We see that users' credentials topping the charts at the 95% there. That obviously is due to phishing in most cases. So you get those fake emails. They're telling you to log into your application via the little password and username prompt. They go ahead and ship it off to the dark web, and the whole world has access to your application. So that is definitely a huge factor. We do see device hygiene involving compromised devices escalating with future attempts with, either that being malware, data breaches, whether they can access that device through an out-of-date browser, through an operating system that hasn't been updated. Those pesky reminders that you get almost every day to update your device, they do actually do something. So we just kind of wanted to set ourselves up to actually protecting both spectrums with Duo. This is what we like to call our trusted access vision. The way it starts is basically we verify the identity of the user using that user's primary credential, and then also we have the ability to link it with a second factor, whether that being your phone through our Duo push application that I'll show you in the future. And then also we do have the ability to integrate with an SMS, text code, and also phone call and hardware token. Once that is done, we're actually able to check the health of the device. So whether that be your phone that you're logging in from, the laptop that you're on, the desktop as well, we'll be able to run a quick diagnostic on whether that that operating system is up to date, whether that browser that you're logging in from actually is up to date as well. And then plugins is another thing that we can check. Trusted devices, that fills in with that health category. And then for every application. So Duo prides itself on having a wide spectrum of just capability and integrating with a lot of different applications throughout the market. So whether that be a cloud-based solution, whether it be a web application, whether it be a Microsoft application as well, we're able to dive in and integrate with that. Throw a little bit of a technical lingo at you real quick, but anything that's working off of a SAML, LDAP, or Radius, you'll be able to integrate with Duo. VPN is also something that we dabble in. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through kind of a normal scenario of what you would see, what your end users would see using the Duo Push application. With this, we'd like to make it as simple as possible to increase the end user's productivity. Don't want to make security more complicated than it already is. So kind of going off of that, we're reducing the risk, increasing the user's productivity, and then also adhering to any compliances that you have. So I'm using Outlook right now, but I'd go ahead and enter in my username and password per usual. Click the sign in button. From here, you get the Duo prompt. So this is what you're going to see each time that you have logged in to your application. You can set standards on how often you can see this. If you'd like to remember me right down here for a day, you can also do that as well. And from here, we have three options for the end user, being the Duo Push, the Call Me option, and then also a passcode. The passcode is developed right on the application as well. It's just a 6-digit code, something that you'd see on a Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator as well. So I'm going to go ahead and showcase the Duo prompt. You'd receive just a little notification on your phone here. Go ahead and click in. You can have that protected by the Face ID as well, and also a thumbprint to get those biometrics tacked off there on a compliance list if you need. And then having the ability to approve or deny. So if you have somebody that's stolen your credentials by any means and you get one of these prompts, all you'd have to do is hit deny. This record would go into a dashboard that you could check to see which user is receiving that fraudulent attempt, and then update that end user's primary credentials in order to prevent that in the future. I'm going to go ahead and click approve, and I'm in. So that was pretty quick and easy. From what we see, our clients are usually using our push application. This is what we like to see as our most secure method of authenticating. SMS is kind of privy to some ways in order to work around being hacked into. So we'd like to push our push application. That also presents the soft tokens that you'll see here, the 6-digit codes. We also have a voice call, U2F, any U2F token we can actually integrate with. A YubiKey I use internally now. It's one click and I'm in kind of deal. Wearables being watches, and then the biometrics being the Face ID and thumbprint that you'll have on those devices as well. We do create hardware tokens and also work with third-party hardware tokens. That being said, just like to expand on kind of our portfolio. I couldn't fit all of the vendors that we work with. Honestly, it's a lot, but just kind of hitting on the most popular ones that we see being able to integrate with our tool. From that, Microsoft environments, we touched on that earlier. So Office 365, working with their cloud-based ADs, and then also an on-prem AD as well. And then from there, looks like it popped up there. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and address this real quick. So how does the companies deal with this? Is my phone, I pay for it. I am not installing work-related apps on it. Great question. So what we do in order to kind of respond to that question is, you'll see a lot of other vendors having kind of an MDM hold on those devices, being able to have a spy window into those personal devices, say your cell phone or your tablets, that a lot of customers don't like the idea of having that. So basically, Duo doesn't collect or store any of your data. We are not able to have a remote wiping on those devices either. So our philosophy is kind of leaving security at that, and then not managing the actual data that's flowing through the device. So basically, when we're doing those health checks, it's checking through the browser that you're in currently, checking the health of whether the iOS is up to date, whether the plugins are up to date, and then also the browser. but we're not peering in, we're not storing any of that data. So that's kind of a way to combat that issue if you do run into that. Right. So we do have also the ability to integrate with tons of VPNs. This is something that we find if we don't have a native integration listed on our website, we can definitely integrate with it on the back end. It would just be a simple generic integration in order to make that work for you. The setup process is very quick. And for a lot of applications, you can even do a slow rollout. So what that means is basically you can select a group of users that you feel like piloting this program. From there, excluding everybody that's outside of that group to actually pass through those applications without the need of 2FA right away. So you can give that pilot group just the experience, making sure that it fits their requirements. And then from there, roll it out however fast or slow you'd like it to for the rest of your organization. Some of the, like I said, compliances that customers run into, Duo has been on the forefront in order to be able to meet those compliance standards. So these are just some of the badges that we have under our belt currently. Any updates to these compliances, our compliance team is very eager to get that up and running as soon as possible. So going to our product line, Duo has 3 tiers of its product. Duo MFA, I like to say, is multi-factor authentication for all of our applications that Duo covers with any device. So you're going to get that experience that I walked through with you earlier, giving you the protection that you need for any application that Duo integrates with. You can have as many devices connected to one user account as you'd like to. So if you have a tablet, if you have a phone, if you want to have a hardware token attached to that account as well, you can meet all of those needs. Jumping from Duo MFA to Access, you're going to get everything MFA has, but also the ability to gain full visibility into those BYOD devices. So the device hygiene aspect that I hinted at earlier, you'll be able to actually see what operating system they're on, what browser they're in, and then also getting the plugin history as well. With that being said, you can set policies. So our policy engine is pretty vast. You can set policies to actually have those users keep their devices at the most current updates on the market in order to access your application. If you see fit, if they do not have the latest update on that device that's using to access the network, you can actually block that device from entering until they have updated. This is actually kind of a nifty tool that we have. It basically prompts them on their end, whether they're out of the policy range on that device, and then walks them through the actual experience in order to update the device, which could take a minute or two for the end user and saves your help desk a lot of time. From MFA to Access into Beyond, Beyond is going to be our top tier version with the ability to actually certificate certain corporate managed devices that you deem are totally updated, protected by your MSP, and then also able to access those super sensitive applications that need some extra security attached to them. So it sets up kind of what's involved in a VPN private tunnel that shoots right through to the application, and excluding any other apps that you don't deem necessary for that user and that device. So that kind of ends my presentation here, but if anybody has any specific questions they'd like to tag into, I'm more than happy to answer that.
Christo, there was a follow-up to Jim's question that came directly to me. Okay. Is there, and you covered this, I think you covered this, but if you could do another quick review on ways to authenticate that don't involve the push to the phone.
Okay, yes, of course. So the options that you have without the push, you'll be able to receive an SMS text directly to your phone. You're also able to receive a call right to your phone. So it'll be an automated message that comes through asking you to either press a button, or if you require a certain password, you can set that policy as well to enter in the password in order to access that application. We also do work with hardware tokens that'll produce either a 6-digit code, like kind of in an RSA environment, you'd see something similar to that, and also a U2F token, which can be just simply touched in order to enter that application.
Awesome. Well, that was very informative and helpful. Thank you, Christo. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
We're kind of coming up on time. I want to respect people's time. We don't have a hard stop at noon, but I know other people have things they need to do and get to, so we'll try to get to your questions here pretty quickly. Jake, I'll let you take this fun slide.
So I saw this meme and had to share it here. One thing that we want to make sure people are doing is looking out for their people. We know the lines have blurred between personal time and business time. This wall that you see behind me, this is my home office, and I'm spending upwards of 10 to 12 hours a day working. And Joe, my CEO here, as well as my wife, who's in the other room, are both reminding me to step away, and we need to make sure that our people are doing that because it's not the 5 o'clock and everybody leaves the office. So that's right. This is when I leave. So we want to make sure we're checking in on our people. We do encourage video in calls. It's the reason that I've kept my video on. As you see from the adorable dogs, if you're not on video, you're maybe not as focused, not as in there, and you're also not as connected to the other people. On a personal level, my wife and I have been doing a lot of video calls with friends this week. Just people that I would otherwise text, or some people that I don't always keep in touch with, but I'm like, you know what, I really just want to make sure that we're keeping connected to everyone. So we're encouraging that both within our business and with our clients, but also personally as well. You get a little bit more, you're a little more together and focused if your camera's on. So check in with your staff. If you are a business owner or are helping to run a business, we've been hearing about a lot of businesses that are offering mental health telemedicine and things like that. This is a really hard time, and I only know how difficult it is, for myself or the people I'm close to. So making sure that you make whatever resources available to your staff as you can, we think is very important. And as far as your business is concerned, set up an appointment to talk to us. We mentioned it at the beginning, webinars at JPMerc.com. I will put it in the chat right now. That is how you can reach out to us if you have any questions after this. If you would like to share some feedback, this is our first one. It is not going to be our last. We're looking to do these weekly. If you would like to schedule some time, either at a top management level, you can speak with Joe. You can speak with myself if you'd like. If you want to look at technical technology strategy for your company, especially right now, you can set up the time to do that. If you want to dig more into more specific challenges, or hey, how do I know that Teams is free right now, and so how do I work through that and get my company on it? We're happy to talk through that with you for a period of time as well. We have our engineers that we can make available to you if that's the most helpful thing. So please, reach out to us on that email address. A lot of folks here we know personally, so you can reach out to us however you'd like. And then going forward, as I said, we're planning to do these on a weekly basis. So stay tuned on Facebook, on LinkedIn, however you find us or communicate with us. And these are some of the other topics that we're looking to incorporate going forward. Resiliency and business continuity and disaster recovery. If you have stuff that's on premise, how redundant are your internet circuits, your firewall, things like that? Do you have proper backups for your systems? Email filtering, we've talked about security. One of the most common ways right now that security is breached is through password phishing or impersonation schemes. where you get an email that says, yeah, I'm the CEO of your company and I need you to buy me gift cards right now. We've seen it happen. Desktop as a service is an alternative to remote desktop, especially for small businesses. Password management, which I mentioned earlier, dark web scanning, which I mentioned earlier, or just training and support for your company. So if there's anything else that you haven't seen today or is not on this list that you'd like us to cover, please drop us a line, let us know. As we said, this webinar is free. All of these webinars are going to be free. All of this one-on-one time that we want to schedule with people is going to be free. We're trying to help our community, which is everybody here, in the best ways we can. And so let us know how we can help.
Very good. Thank you, Jake. I'm sorry that we've used most of the hour, but we will open it up to any questions. So you can ask questions now. We can stay longer if you want to stay longer. Of course, we'll excuse anybody who needs to get rolling. And then, as Jake said, if you want to do a deeper dive on anything, you can schedule a half hour with us and we'll work with you on that deep dive. But we'll open it up now to any questions on anything we talked about or anything we didn't talk about. All right, maybe something coming in the chat. Screen keeps disappearing on me. Mostly just a thank you. So I'll take the silence as no immediate questions, but as Jake said, and I will reiterate, if you need help with anything, it is a no obligation deal. It is a no charge deal. We were swamped. We were buried helping our client base for about 3 weeks. Now they're all stable and doing what they need to do. And so we've got some cycles available. We've got some bandwidth and we want to help you. So if you need help, let us know. I want to thank Christo for joining us today and talking about Duo. I want to thank Axis Business Solutions, who is our marketing firm, for helping to put this together with zero time available, and Jake for doing the slide deck. And I want to thank you all for joining us today and having a decent turnout. And I hope this was helpful, and I hope you'll continue to join us in the future.
We will be sharing the recording of this webinar. So we'll share it via the social media channels that we got the word out in the beginning, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Please stay safe, be well, and be in touch.